Let the church say amen. Amen. Man, oh man. Out here with the Deltas. My God. What a sight. To Miss Bogus and to Miss Parker and to Miss Tolan Mayo and Miss Withers, Miss Beatty, Miss Wade, Miss Lawrence, Reverend Christopher, Sister Hayden, Miss Baskerville and Miss Duncan, to Miss Finch, Miss Hampton, Miss Smalls, to Miss Bostic, and to everybody else. What an honor it is to be here today with such chocolate charm, such vanilla vitality, such cafe au lait creativity, such caramel cuteness, such fine-ass black women up in here. Now, I'm from the 70s. We love all the women of the world because we were determinately universal in our reciprocity of erotic facilitation. But we always hold the highest priority and the deepest allegiance to the black women from whose wombs we emerged, and we embrace and love black women. That's why I wrote a book called Why I Love Black Women. Now, it doesn't seem to gone out of style. People just don't want to openly celebrate black women. I ain't one of them, right? What you can do is show me in the path of a black woman. Show me where they is. I don't mind you being who you is, but show me a thick, beautiful, pugnacious, voluptuous black woman with an independent mind, a deep spirit, a creative heart, and if you got it, back that thing up too. I'm talking about your brain. I was talking about your brain. Only brains. What an honor it is to be here today. I was talking to one of your sorors, Dr. Belinda Peterson, and you know, she's a professor at Moravian College, a brilliant intellectual. You'll be hearing about her. Okay, that's her table over there. I don't know if that's iota, theta, eta, beta. I'm not sure which one it is, but they over there representing. And she's one of the most brilliant young scholars in this nation, professor of English. And her partner in crime, her husband, that she allowed to come here today, my man, Dr. James Peterson, one of the greatest young scholars of hip-hop. I got a new book out on Jay-Z, and that book grows out of our conversation over 10 years of thinking and talking and grappling with his meaning, and he sent me notes and pages and stuff that I just Dysonized and put up in that book. And one of the most extraordinary scholars and brilliant intellectuals we have, I want them to stand up so you can see this beautiful couple, Doctors Peterson, right? She banned him from the table with her sorors. I ain't seen this kind of devotion to clique since I was a member of a gang. I ain't trying to say y'all gang, but y'all be throwing them gang signs up and everything. I was speaking for the Deltas in Columbus, Ohio last week, and some AKAs were sitting at the table. It was straight up warfare up in there. But what an honor it is, and people say, well, how do you feel being a substitute? I said, I preach for a God that sent a substitute down here on earth. Since we didn't die, Jesus did, if you believe in that particular theological train of evidence. And so I'm glad to be a substitute for Sister April Ryan, one of our most gifted journalists in America today. And she ain't done nothing but bless me. to see all of y'all, because y'all sure is pretty. And I love the infinite variety of black female beauty. And the reason I focus on beauty to start with, that ain't all I'm only in on. But I talk to some white women and says, well, please don't subordinate me to a hierarchy where you only acknowledge my beauty. That's from privilege. That's because even when they ugly, people be thinking that that is the ideal norm against which to articulate their conception. But sisters who ain't never been recognized need to be recognized not only for everything they possess, but for being outrageously attractive and appealing in this world. So I celebrate every one of y'all up in here today. Now, I ain't got much time, so I'm going to get right to it. I'm a Baptist preacher, so I'm used to speaking for 4 hours. I'm going to give y'all a break today. I'm going to speak for 3 hours and 59 minutes. But I'll condense it to about 15, 20, if you really get going with me, 25 minutes, and just say what I got to say. I think Delta is the fourth letter of the alphabet. And when we think about that Greek alphabet, when we think about what it means, right, in terms of the ideal intellectual principles that operate in the context of both Greek and subsequent cultures, when we think about the 18th letter of Sigma and then the 8th letter of Theta, when we think about the meanings of these terms, whether it's an unknown angle, whether it's a sum, whether with Delta it is a change in quantity, what we know is that you all are change makers. And I just want to reflect out loud a little bit why it's important for black women to be black women today. And the reason I say that is because black women have basically saved America. Y'all done stood up when others have sat down. Y'all done rose up and articulated principles of democracy when others gave in to fascism. You all have loved black men when black men were worthy and when they weren't. You have forgiven more than others have insisted was right, and you have stood beside those of us who, through our own perilous mortality, have made choices that have been destructive, and yet you have risen to stand beside us. You have looked at an electorate that has done crazy stuff and been voting in the right way forever. Even when 53% of eligible white women voted for a pugnacious fascist, an intemperate oligarch, a man proud to be unmolested by enlightenment, a man who stands up and doesn't read and yet tweets every day, sharing and excreting the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode. And yet, black women rose up and voted for a woman who should be in charge right now, and voted for a brother against whom this dude has real problems. He just got swag envy. And so it's important for black women to be black women, because everybody in your life collectively have tried to discourage you from being a black woman. And the definition of black womanhood is variable. Ain't no narrow, stereotypical articulation of an essential ingredient that constitutes your identity. That's the beauty of black women. There's a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. Y'all can go high culture, speak the king's English to the queen's taste, and you can get gut bucket down on the ground. And ask the question, is you crazy? The beauty of black women is that you are capable of bearing the race in your wombs and bearing the race on your back. And beyond that, you have insisted, however, in the dignity of black men and children at the same time. And we know we need that help because what it means to be a black person in America is really tough right now. America's going through a phase of recrudescent bigotry, a renaissance of hate for the others. We got this orange apparition that is hanging over America right now that hates on everything that ain't him. Mexicans and Muslims and gay and lesbian and transgendered and bisexual people, everybody who ain't white and straight. And that should warn us that we ought to not have our own pet peeves of prejudice and pockets of bigotry ourselves because we really can't afford it. You hating on somebody today, everybody gonna be hating on you tomorrow. And so black women have been extraordinary, and I just want to talk about why it's important for black women to be black women today. And the first reason it's important for black women to be black women is because you have helped save our people. Now, a lot of folk don't give credit. They get Black History Month. Black women don't get enough credit, and during Women's History Month, black women don't get enough credit, right? But black women been on the job from day one. Even when your men, along with you, were being sold on an auction block. Even when men had to look at their wives being raped. Wasn't no Me Too movement on the plantation. Right? And even though the Me Too movement has been extraordinarily important, think about Tarana Burke, a lot of that ain't got nothing to do with the specificity of black female suffering. They ain't talking about what sister's up against. It is a narrow conception of white female identity that has been idealized, fetishized, and romanticized to the exclusion of black and brown women who have been raped every day of their existence in this nation. And so it wasn't no Me Too movement back on the plantation, it was just us. Even when Thomas Jefferson was writing about the lack of substantial rational capacity for Negroes, when he was dissing black music, and you know he was tripping then, saying that we didn't possess the requisite skill of the harmonic and melodic temperament of European music, but that's because we had bass, that's because we had drum, that's because we had beat, that's because we had rhythm. But he might have dogged us with his logic, but his loins called him out to a young 14-year-old girl. Didn't start with R. Kelly. I know some of y'all saying, how dare you compare Thomas Jefferson to R. Kelly. It's true. He never wrote Step in the Name of Love. I don't care what kind of genius you are. If you assault black women, you are pathological in this country. R. Kelly and Thomas Jefferson. He took some Luther Vandross tapes and he went out to the slave quarter. And this young black woman of such majestic temperament and bearing appealed to this man, and they had a bunch of kids. And white folk are, oh my God, Jiminy Cricket, that can't be true. Why you think that ain't true? That wasn't the exception, that was the norm. Because everybody liked chocolate. Everybody wanted to both demonize black women and find them irresistible at the same time. While Becky was being elevated up on a stool, Shaniqua was being demonized out in the field. And yet Sally Mae was able to elevate the race by understanding that despite the dehumanizing treatment and the pathology of toxic masculinity, she was able to transmute and transform her suffering into a form of change for her people. That's from the very beginning. Black women are being subject to rape culture. Rape culture is endemic to white masculinity in America. And so, my brothers and sisters who struggled all during the time, and sisters, I tell you today, you understand that you have been the linchpin for our freedom. And black women have been the backbone of this movement. This is not to emasculate black men. And when black men get real sensitive about that and say black women are in, no, they ain't. Black women defend black men more than black men defend black men. You look at all the major social movements, even to help black men, a lot of black women started them. They were deeply and profoundly sensitive to what black men were up against, and black men need to be a little bit more sensitive in returning the favor. Not calling women bitches and hoes and skeezers and sluts and hood rats and chicken heads. I know y'all dance to some of that music. Y'all excuse it, make an exception. The beat is pretty wicked. It's easier now because mumble rap, who in the hell knows what they're saying? I come from a generation where you understood what they were talking about. Standing by the speaker, suddenly I had a fever. Was it me or either summer madness? Because I just can't turn around, so I get closer, and the closer I get, the better it sounds. My mind starts to activate, rhymes collaborate. Because when I heard the beat, I just had to make something from the top of my head. So I fell into the groove of the wax and I said, how can I move the crowd? First of all, ain't no mistakes allowed. Right? Now what are they saying? The 50,000, I said it now. Every time I talk around here, you been saying I want to say, I'm just, oh, to say I show the say, oh, to say my baby's down, but everything we said. What? Then they add, you know what I'm saying? No, actually, I've been black for 61 years. I have no idea what you done just said. Only part I understood, walk it like you talk it. Hey, walk it like you talk it. What? Walk it like you talk it. What? That part I understood. Maybe one of the reasons why they start mumbling is because when they were clear and articulate, they were still being murdered by the police. When they were wearing their drawers up to standard, they were still getting demonized, so they start sagging. Instead of demonizing them, maybe if you lift their dreams, their drawers will follow. And so black women defended black men from the very beginning. People ask me, why you wrote a book on black women? I said, because I love black women. I have an incurable desire to absorb as much intimate understanding of the knowledge of black existence through the prism of black women as possible, because I have seen them suffer as widows and seen them suffer as mothers who were singled, reduced to cruelty by a culture that refuses to acknowledge their humanity and still keep rising. And so it is important that you continue to do that, because you have saved us as a people who have stood up, women who with no formal education and those with extremely formalized education both have defended the race, have put forth ideas and books and sermons that will defend us, been doctors and lawyers and engineers and social imaginers who have fostered an ability to think brilliantly and beautifully about black folk. And so y'all done tried to save the race from the very beginning, and we ought to recognize that black women are still doing the same thing today. But not only that, y'all ain't just saved the race, y'all done tried to save the nation. Black women vote 80, 90%. I ain't just trying to say Democrats are automatically the best. We done seen some of the crazy stuff Democrats done said. Right? Some of these white billionaires running for office, and some who ain't billionaires. And the strange thing about black folk is, right, they say, well, why y'all still supporting some of these white folk who made some racist statements? Because we assume all of y'all done it. You just ain't got caught yet. You say nigger, you just say it behind our backs. You call us colored and you call us all kind of names, and we know we ain't stupid. We know some of y'all thought crazy stuff about us, about busing, about stop and frisk. We ain't assuming none of y'all been pure when it comes to articulating a racial ideology that was uplifting or a progressive conception of black folk in the post-industrial urban space where we had our backs against the wall. So you ain't fooling us. You ain't tricking us. But what we also understand is we got to get something better than what we got right now. But black women done turned out even more than white women whose privilege is preserved within a racist hierarchy where even feminist principles don't challenge white supremacist discourse. Because even as a white woman, if you participate in a dominant white culture that lends you privilege, even in a feminist hierarchy, your needs are placed above black and Latinx women. Ain't no sense in lying about that. If we're going to talk about poisonous, toxic masculinity among black masculinity, we got to talk about deference to white supremacy among white women. And black women have been right there, voting the right way. 90%, 95%, Hillary. You see Obama got damn near 100% from black women because he your baby daddy, he your boo, he your man. I done seen black women, ooh, Lord Jesus. I ain't mad. Look, I'd rather have him than the dude we got right now. Every time he walked down Air Force One, it's like 50 Cent was playing in the background. I don't know what you heard about me, but the right can't get a dollar out of me. I'm a PIMP, a president imbued with moral principles. I mean, sometimes he came out, he'd come down Air Force One, sharp as he want to be, pointing at black people. Sup? That mega kilowatt smile. He read books. He knew that a dangling participle wasn't a piece of lettuce. His nouns and verbs agreed. He knew what sentences were. He wasn't heavy on adjectives. Bad, sad, see dick run. He read novels and long nonfiction books. But I wish I could have been his anger translator. Just for a day. A Dysonized articulation of black brilliant fury and bitterness in the service of democracy in America. You know, when he came out and gave the second before last State of the Union speech, when he came out and he said, I have no more races to run, and then the white folks started clapping. He said, that's because I beat you twice. That ain't how he wanted to say it. Will y'all permit me to be his anger translator for a minute? Can I say it? Ain't no kids up in here, so you know what I'm saying? You know what Obama wanted. Look, bitch, I done beat your ass twice. And if I had another race, I could do it for a third time. That's just how cold I am. I wish Obama had come out the White House in a terry cloth robe with a gold grill and a skull cap and getting this newspaper every morning. What? Yeah, I'm living in public housing. Black women supported him. And like most black men, even when he messed up, y'all still loved him. Most of y'all didn't know when he was messing up. Because like the white folk that you despise for uncritically and blindly supporting Trump, you did it for Obama. Get quiet, audience. Even when he was talking down to black people, like Jesse Jackson said, when he said to Morehouse College that nobody's going to give you anything you didn't earn. Bruh, they're graduating from college. This ain't no detention center. And the only person who didn't earn a degree that day was Barack Obama. I stood in Washington, D.C. when he said he blamed the 1960s and our sensitivity toward assassination as our justification for doing illicit and criminal activities. Oh, you ain't listened to him because you was in love, and I get it. Because we ain't had but one black president. White folk are bored. We've had 45. What, 44? Then they tell me, you know, he was half us. We had one half brother for 8 years. And I understand why we were defensive, and we were highly sensitive, and we don't want nobody critical. And I understand that. Some folk went off the rails and tried to talk about him and dog him, and that ain't right. But at the same time, it ain't right to overlook some stuff he did, because he ain't Jesus, he's a human being. Right? Even though y'all are loath to do it, and I understand, the gulf that was created for Trump to fill was in part created by a preceding environment of dismissal of racial discourse and the reluctance to deal with it. Now, you will say immediately, my God, the man's back was against the wall. Every time he talked about race, his ratings dipped. Every time he wore a tan suit, his ratings dipped. Every time he stood up and breathed, his ratings dipped. So the thing is, one thing Trump has shown you, you the president. One thing Bush has shown you, you the president. While you there, do what you gotta do. And we know that Obama's back was against the wall. We knew he was smarter than the rest of them. We knew he had higher intelligence, deeper morality, more profound principles, but at the same time, you got to have the courage of black women too. That's why we loved his black wife, right? In fact, she gave him black credibility. Y'all know that. When he would tell the story, I'm the product of a single mother. Your mama was white with a PhD in anthropology, dog. That ain't the same as Shaniqua, who's struggling to stay on food stamps. Oh, I thought y'all wanted it real. Excuse me. I'm the substitute. I am that nigga. That's what I do. So what's interesting is that as much as I love him, he created an atmosphere where race was not talked about, but the dude after him said, I'll talk about it all day. My Bible tells me if you kick a demon out and don't put nothing in its place, 8 worse demons gonna come along. And so I'm saying to you that how we acknowledge him and his genius and what he did and the remarkable run he had, we got to also say there was some stuff he could have done. But black women in the meantime were still doing it, still registering people to vote, still telling people that despite the culture telling them they were nothing, they raised them up. Despite presidents and senators and other Congress people denying the humanity of black people, black women stood up and tried to save this nation. White women voting 53% for an oligarch, an autocrat, a fascist, and a man who went around bragging how he grabbed it. First of all, you ain't got no game. If you got to grab it, you just have no talk. You have no rhetoric. And if you're going to talk about, then don't be quoting no rap to justify grabbing it. Oh yeah, there's some ridiculous, rapacious rape culture metaphors that are threaded through rap, but there's also skill, old black man ideas of how to love black women. In my generation, we ain't grabbing it. We tried to put ourselves in a position where we could adequately beg. And the question was, how good was your begging? How were you able to deploy adjectives, modifying nouns, to express your deep desire for forging congress with another human being who was feminine and formidable at the same time? So you ain't got to grab it. Why don't you call it? Why don't you summons it with the integrity of your humanity? Why don't you beg with understanding love for a black woman? Even Biggie said, some say the X makes the sex spectacular. Make me lick you from your neck to your back, then a tongue delivering chills up that spine. But he also said, if it's all right with you. That was affirmative consent. He ain't grabbing it. This small-handed man trying to grab things that he can't handle once he possesses them. And so, black women have stood in the gap and tried to save this nation, save it from itself, save it from its self-destruction, and put us on a better path. And then finally, the beautiful thing about black women becoming and being black women is that when you learn to love yourselves, you transform this nation. Why do I say that? You know, I'm in the audience with black women a lot, and I hear a lot of things black women say about other black women. All of it ain't great. All of it ain't DST. All of it ain't ooh. All of it ain't what y'all doing, throwing up them signs. Some of it is hate. Some of it is visceral repugnance for another black woman. But thank God, enlightened black women know how to love each other. And when enlightened black women learn to love each other, no matter where you are, no matter what you is, that will change this nation's course. Because when black women learn to love each other, that means they have overcome the narratives of self-hate, what feminists call self-talk, where you are trying to convince yourself why you ain't beautiful, because you got a broad nose and you got so-called kinky hair and trying to change it up. Don't change nothing about what you is. Now, you can see already my bias is for black women. I don't care if you're straight-haired or so-called contour-duplicated, as the anthropologists say. That means you got kinky hair. Talking about you got good hair. What's good hair? Good hair is hair that once you comb it stays in place. Black women say, oh, I've got too much there. I said, no, it's just right to me. Demonizing yourself, looking at a thin, waspy wisp of a figure in dominant white culture. I ain't demonizing nobody else, but I'm saying we got to embrace our bodies. We got to embrace our noses, our lips, our hips, our eyes, our hair, however it is, whether you got one follicle or you got a million of them that you bought, taught, disciplined, or tried to incorporate. Trying to make black women feel bad about what you got. Everybody trying to be you. Getting shots in they behinds. And it looks pretty hideous most of the times as I do thorough examinations for authenticity. I'm a cultural critic. I have to analyze these things. Now, when I have to look at that Kim Kardashian tape about 25 times to make sure that what she said is what she believed, I saw that they demonized Janet Jackson for showing a nanosecond of nipple. For 25 years, they have tried to demonize her. Other white women show everything God gave them plus what they bought on a tape, and they become famous and multimillionaires. But black women show a nipple that when it was being sucked by white civilization wasn't a problem. When it was used to support young black children as you were rearing them, it was not a problem. But when the nipple goes to work for itself, at the Super Bowl, a white man pulls the nipple for 0.8 seconds. I had gone to the bathroom. I missed it when I came back. I was highly upset at the prospect of doing a sociological analysis of Janet Jackson. But what's interesting is that Janet Jackson got dogged by some of the men who were part of a Me Too culture of rape. And she was thrust to the margin of American society because black women's sexuality has been deeply and profoundly disturbing in America. On the one hand, they find it repulsive. On the other hand, they find it irresistible. And so, my sisters, you must learn to love and embrace your body, your sexuality, your identity, and that means whatever your sexuality is. Now, I know a lot of y'all conservative, value-having Negro people, but don't be mad at no alternative sexuality. I was at a church the other day in Cleveland. A black woman came to me. She said, "You know you're going to hell." I said, "Ma'am, I pray not." I said, "Did Jesus tell you this?" Because I just talked to him this morning. He ain't said nothing to me. She said, "You know you going to hell. You going to hell because you preach God created gay people." I said, "And you think I'm going to hell? You believe in polytheism? There's a God for gay people and one for straight people? Either God created everybody or God ain't created nobody." Right? What you think? God took a day off and created somebody? Hey, you were created the day God took off. Fortunately, he's not the author of you. Are you telling me you don't believe in a God who creates everybody? How can you, as a black woman being demonized in America, turn your nose down at a woman who, because of her biological orientation and her sociological attraction, finds another woman attractive? You've been blessed by them and didn't even know it. I've seen black people been blessed by gay and lesbian folk and get retroactively homophobic. Had I known you were gay, I would have never accepted this 4-year scholarship you gave me to complete my undergraduate education. I ain't never been to a black church that turns down gay tithes. How can black women, who are 75% of the black church, where you already are subject to spiritual apartheid, you can cook, clean, and sew. You can be a member of the deacon board, I'm almost done, and the trustees, but you can't pastor the church you numerically dominate. You can give money, but you can't determine what's going to go on. And some of y'all are the recipients of such distorted perception that you are the most successful purveyors of patriarchy and homophobia yourselves. Yes. When God frees you, God frees your body and mind. And I'm telling you, you ain't got enough knowledge to know what people are attracted to and why. They tell me that gay marriage is messed up. Just keep your straight marriage together. Some of us put the hoe in holy. Oh, and you said you did that when you're young. You didn't stop doing it. You aged out of your sin. It just don't work like it used to work no more. I'm almost done. But I'm telling you, as black women, you got to love everybody in our nation, in our community. You got to love all black people. Either all black lives matter or no black lives matter. And I'll end by saying this. I believe this from the bottom of my heart. If black America is to survive and be strong in this nation, we must love all black women. And I'm going to take my seat on this. That's why I wrote the book called Why I Love Black Women. I didn't want to be the dude that grew up and say back in my day, but back in my day, we didn't demonize women like we do now. Now, we believed it privately, but we just wasn't going to celebrate it in public. I try to tell some of these young rappers, why you got to, it ain't always got to be all the nastiness and the filthiness. And don't get it wrong, some of the people who castigated young people for being nasty and filthy in Philadelphia are now serving time. And the people with the thing and the jello and the pudding pop. Oh, that's right up the road. He said, and their names Shaliqua and Taliqua and Muhammad, and they're all in jail. Guess he thought they needed company. Oh, you think I'm being hard? That man went around this country demonizing young black men, and he demonized black women. He said, I'm gonna have to have pretty soon in the ghetto a DNA card to determine if you're making love to your grandma. He said she has a baby at 16, 13, and then that baby, 13 years later, has a baby. He said, black women, I'm gonna have to determine if you having love with somebody, because both of y'all related, you might be making love to your grandma. He insulted black women. He presumed that they were promiscuous. He was drugging us before he was accused of drugging women in the broader culture. And we bought into it because we believed that a comedian with bourgeois values was somehow better than some Negroes from the hood. But Snoop Dogg, still with his wife, ain't drugging nobody. Even though we need to hold him to account as well as anybody else. The point is that you cannot determine the legitimacy based on class or orientation. And all I'm saying to you as I end is that black women got to love all black folk in order for black people to rise in this country. And back in my day, we didn't celebrate them. The evil of patriarchy. We didn't mind saying, unlike Jay-Z, who says, I can't see him coming down my eyes, so I'll make the song cry. He was distant from his emotions. Guess what? Sunshine, blue skies, please go away. My girl's found another and gone away. With her went my future. My life is filled with gloom, so day after day, I know to you it might sound strange, but I wish it would. My God. And then the girl made us lose our mind. We didn't mind saying, have you seen her? Tell me, have you? I see her face as the cold wind blows on the street, even at the... That ain't the movie, that's a film projected onto the side of a barn. Have you seen her? And then you could understand every word they say. Why, oh, why did she have to? Oh, I've been used. Now where you at? Now I'm at the mall. You're here, I'm there. Where are you? But wait a minute. Then the girl made us see things. Today I saw somebody who looked just like you. Guess what? She walked like you too. What did you think? I thought it was you. But wait a minute. As she turned the corner, I called out her name. Shanae, Shanae. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was my girl. You still kind of fine. You a Delta? Let me get that math anyhow. And then the girl turned us into a stalker. We didn't mind. Each day through my window, Wait a minute, how many days you been watching that girl? For 3 years, somebody called the police on that stalker. And how about this? I'm almost done. Y'all don't remember this song, Philadelphia's Best, when you're in the center ring. And their lines don't mean a thing. Why don't you? That's me. Now watch this. Now I don't wear a diamond ring. Guess what? I don't. Now watch this. This is a Pentecostal love song now. Pentecostal love song. All I know is la 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 la. Speaking in tongues right there. You don't know what it means. Come on, y'all. But wait a minute. What they're singing now? You remind me of my Jeep. Wait a minute. What did Trey Songz said? You gonna think I invented sex? No, you didn't. Barry White might have had something to do with that. Y'all don't remember Barry, do you? Playing your game, baby, just you and me. I think Marvin Gaye had something to do with that. Some of y'all were born on Marvin. Some of y'all made babies on Marvin. I don't see nothing wrong with you. Giving yourself to me can never be wrong if the Spirit moves you. Did that Negro bring the Holy Ghost up into the Bible? And then up the road, Teddy Pendergrass had something. Huh? He started off like Obama, real smooth. Close the door. Then he ended up like Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Shut him off! I'm gonna take my seat. If America is to be saved, we must embrace strong black women. Unapologetic. Do you think Harriet Tubman wasn't a strong black woman? What do you think Harriet said? Excuse me. There's a thing called the Underground Railroad. I want you guys to come along. It's really cool. That ain't what she said. Be here tonight at 8:30. And don't be late. And Negroes showed up. Miss Tubman, we was going to go, but we done changed our minds. But we's not going to tell nobody. Oh, she said, I know you won't. She had a Bible in one hand. Oh, y'all know what she had. Remember LL could, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Mama said, and she knocked those Negroes out. And when they woke up, where I is, nigga, you're free. We done drug your black butt to freedom, and women will still do it today. Peace.